dolls are creepy. Whether it's their dead eyes staring into your soul or their fake smiles that appear sinister when the lighting is just right. Dolls have been terrifying humans for centuries. However, some of these inanimate objects may actually be more than just dolls. Here are scary stories about real dolls that are guaranteed to make you never look at those porcelain faces the same way again. The Conjuring Valak. If you love horror movies, then chances are you're familiar with the Conjuring series. These films follow paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who help families dealing with supernatural occurrences. While most of the events depicted in the movies are fictionalized, they are based on actual cases that the Warrens worked on, including one that involved an evil doll named Valak. In 1971, a woman named Helen Acton sold her home. During the sale, she offered the new owner a choice: take the creepy porcelain doll or destroy it. The new owner took the doll only to find out that the item came with a dark past. Apparently, the previous owner's mother-in-law gave the doll to her daughter, who quickly became enamored with it. When the daughter passed away, her mother inherited the doll. She then handed it down to Helen, who was never fond of the doll because of how lifeless it seemed. When Helen offered the doll to the new owner, she also warned them that the doll was bad luck. Of course, she should have known that warning someone about a doll's bad luck was like putting a target on its back. According to reports, the doll's behavior began to change after the transfer of ownership. It was seen moving about, shaking people's hands, and even interacting with children. As the doll's antics escalated, so did its sinister appearance. Some say the doll's face darkened, while others say it grew sharp teeth and claws. By 1973, the doll's behavior had become downright demonic. It reportedly scratched, bit and spat at family members. Not to mention, it wouldn't stay put. It would often be found in places it shouldn't be, such as on top of furniture, inside drawers, and even hanging from windows. The Warrens became involved with the case and determined that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a Native American shaman who used it as a vessel to carry out curses. After the Warrens performed an exorcism, the doll's behavior calmed. Despite this, the owners wanted the doll out of their house. The Warrens took the doll with them, and it was never seen again. The doll that haunted Disneyland. Dolls are already creepy, but the idea of a haunted doll is a whole other level of scary. Imagine being at Disneyland, riding the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and turning toward a certain spot where you see a creepy doll with a hook for a hand, reaching out to grab you. Well, sadly, that exact nightmare scenario became reality, for one. Unlucky visitor who was horrified to learn that the doll was reaching for him because its spirit wanted to pull him from the boat and drag him into the depths of the ride. According to rumors, a girl drowned on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and the spirit of the young victim has been haunting the attraction ever since. Although this story seems terrifying, there's no evidence to support it. However, a Disneyland employee revealed that one of the scariest things about working at the park is hearing disembodied screams and whispers coming from the ride. The screams sound so realistic that employees have to remind themselves that they were not actually on the ride to explain it away. Maybe the screamers aren't as active during the day, but once the sun sets, the ghosts come out to play. The Hookman doll, back in the 1960s, a film adaptation of a novel titled The Hookman, was released. The plot centered around a man who murdered his wife and then chained her to a meat hook. Nearly 2 decades later, a mysterious doll began showing up on doorsteps all over Europe. It wasn't anything unique in terms of appearance except for the fact that it had a hook for a hand. This led many to assume that the dolls were inspired by the book and movie, but it turned out that the person behind the creepy deliveries had an even darker reason for sending the dolls. Franz Joseph was a disturbed individual who had an obsession with mutilation. His disturbing hobbies included skinning animals and making jewelry out of their body parts. He also developed a fascination with a local German folk tale about a killer who lures victims to their death with the promise of work. In the story, the killer chains his unsuspecting victims to a meat hook, which he uses to rip out their organs and feast on them. Franz decided to bring the story to life and began kidnapping women, killing them and then hanging their bodies from hooks. He then turned to making dolls as a twisted way to memorialize his victims. He dressed them in clothes belonging to his victims, fashioned faces out of wax, and used the meat hook from the story to complete his gruesome creations. The Ghost in the Mirror. Do you remember that classic horror movie starring Katie Holmes in which a girl accidentally opens a portal to hell using a vintage mirror? Well, it turns out that mirrors have long been associated with ghosts. There's a legend of a ghost that can be summoned through a mirror known as the Bloody Mary ghost. Of course, the story gained popularity after the movie, and it remains one of the most popular urban legends in modern culture. In fact, we're all probably aware of the tradition in which people stand in front of a mirror and recite the name 3 times to summon the ghost. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, that still sounds like a recipe for disaster. According to some sources, the myth originated from the Bloody Mary killer who preyed on victims during the 1920s. However, others say the Bloody Mary ghost is simply a reimagining of Bloody Mary herself, who is said to be the vengeful ghost of a woman who died while giving birth. Some accounts claim that Bloody Mary haunts bathrooms where she may turn on the faucets, adjust the thermostat, or turn off the lights. Others claim that she appears as a horrifying spectre that attacks anyone who sees her. No matter what form she takes, the Bloody Mary ghost is sure to send shivers down your spine. The Haunting of the Nuremberg Doll. Back in 1832, a traveling salesman named Robert Klopstock purchased a doll for his 5-year-old daughter. She quickly fell in love with the doll and named her Georgiana. At first, everything seemed fine, but soon the doll's presence became a nuisance to the family. The doll began moving on her own, shaking the bed and appearing in random locations throughout the house. On another occasion, the doll appeared to predict the future. When Robert walked into his daughter's room, he spotted Georgiana holding a small card with a drawing of himself. To add to the creepiness, he hadn't drawn the image on the card. In addition to predicting the future, Georgiana also demonstrated knowledge of languages. One time, Robert entered his daughter's room and heard her speaking French, despite the fact that she didn't know any foreign languages. Eventually, Robert had enough, and he tossed the doll out the window. Later that evening, a member of the Nuremberg Doll Club discovered Georgiana and took her in. The doll's unsettling behavior continued. She was seen moving about and standing on chairs. After several months, the club's leader received a letter from Robert asking her to return the doll. When she knocked on his door, he invited her inside to discuss the situation. Robert claimed that his entire household had been haunted by the doll, including his mother, who had recently passed away. He requested that the Club's leader perform a ritual to transfer the doll's spirit to her instead. After hearing this, the club's leader agreed to take the doll back. However, she soon regretted her decision. Georgiana's behavior continued, and it seemed as if the doll was taunting her. She would move from room to room as if mocking the club's leader. Eventually, the club's leader placed Georgiana in an antique shop window. Soon after, the shop's owner experienced strange events, including flickering lights and footsteps above her head. She, too, had no choice but to pass the doll along. It changed hands several times until it ended up with a wealthy widow. Finally, the widow's son-in-law decided to end the curse once and for all. He tossed the doll into a nearby lake. Years later, someone dredged up the doll from the lake and placed her in a museum. And according to reports, her haunting ways continue. Hester, the possessed doll, for those of us who don't believe in ghosts or demons. It can be easy to dismiss tales of haunted dolls as mere fairy tales. However, for the people involved with Hester, a doll that was allegedly possessed by a demon, it was very real. The story dates back to 1970, when a nun donated the doll to a charity shop in the United Kingdom. She said that she wanted the doll out of her order because it was evil. Many people dismissed her claims as nonsense, but they quickly realized that they might have made a mistake. Shortly after purchasing the doll, strange things began happening. It was witnessed levitating and moving about on its own. One time, the doll's arms were found wrapped around the neck of a woman sleeping in a nearby bed. Other times, the doll's head was spinning in circles and emitting blood-curdling screams. Those who encountered the doll described it as creepy and evil. They felt that the doll was judging them and constantly watching their every move. Eventually, it was taken to a church to be blessed by a priest. However, the doll's behavior didn't improve. It continued to terrify those around it until it was finally locked away in a trunk. To this day, no one dares disturb the doll. Which one of these dolls scared you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos. See you next time. Bye.